question, Daryl will start. All right, do you believe the government is too big, too small, or just right, especially Cheshire County government?
I believe that every government that exists anywhere in the world is too big. They all need to be either reduced substantially or in some cases eliminated.
I went on to the National Association of Counties website this morning, and it stated, when our national government was formed, the framers of the Constitution did not provide for local governments, rather they left the matter to the states. Subsequently, early state constitutions generally conceptualized county government as an arm of the state. There is a need for county government. It oversees areas that the state doesn't have any mandate to control and that the cities do not wish to participate in. You might say the government is too large, but what part of the county government can be cut, and if it is cut, who's going to pick up those responsibilities? It isn't as easy as saying, we're going to eliminate the county's role in whatever and expect that some other entity or some group of, kind-hearted people are going to take on these tasks.
Well, as I said during the first question, I believe that either the county treasurer or the city and town clerks could keep the records, at least the physical records that are being currently held by the Register of Deeds, but everything should be online.
Okay, so the next question is, what is your preferred tax policy for the city? How do you propose that your office would be paid for? How should it be paid for?
Well, I'd like to ask Daryl if he knows how it is currently being paid for.
Yes, I do.
Presently, county government is the revenue comes from each of the towns that are located in the county. Each town pays a proportion of tax to the county government to cover the costs that are related to the county government. That tax is based on, property valuation, population, and if each town had to pay for the services individually for the services that they receive, their cost would be quite a bit higher. By pooling the money, the cost per thousand is, some pennies per thousand. That's part of the county property bill. And it would be far greater if they had to actually pay for the services that they are receiving. There are some towns who have a overpopulation in the jail, for instance, or an overpopulation in the county nursing home. Their expenses are covered through county taxes. If the towns actually had to pay per person, some of the towns would see a massive increase in the cost of their government services.
I would prefer to see all government programs being paid for through voluntary means, either user fees or just voluntary donations to that government agency. The Register of Deeds office, their budget is currently paid for from the fees when people purchase or transfer property. They pay a fee to file that paper with the clerk. I believe that fee could come down and everything could be much more efficient than it currently is.
Well, I thought that the libertarian position was always user fees, and in fact, you pay a user fee when you file a document with the Registry of Deeds office. However, there is a need for the staff to do the work. If something is going to be online, it has to be digitized, and it has to be indexed, and it has to be put into a search such that the public can access it. That all involves staff time. In terms of voluntary taxation, if you have a number of elderly people who need assistance, you're going to have to get a hell of a lot of people to donate money to provide for their care, and I'm not sure that enough people are. I have seen cases where people are more likely to help a puppy than to help an abused child. Puppy's cuter.
Okay, now we're going to open up the floor to rapid fire questions from the audience. So each question is answered by only one candidate. They get a 60-second response. So each candidate will have the ability to answer 3 questions apiece. So who would like to ask a question?
So, thank you. Yes, if let's assume we get rid of government, wouldn't that make it very easy for those who could hire their private armies and who are wealthy?
Well, the current system allows those who can afford it to hire private armies. There's this thing called Blackwater, or it used to be called Blackwater, which is now called Z, that was basically a private army paid for by the federal government. So I don't really see much of a difference as far as the current system and what would happen without a government that sanctions corporations.
Okay, next question. Okay, David, this is going to be to Ms. Tilton.
Oh, okay. I want to ask both of them this, but who are you going to be voting for president, and one single reason why?
I'm going to be voting for Barack Obama because I think his policies, while not perfect, are going to be a lot better than Mitt Romney's.
That's not really a single reason. I'm thinking a single reason, if you have one.
Because his policies are going to be better than Mitt Romney's.
Oh.
That's not a reason?
I was thinking a single issue, maybe forefront issue.
Anybody who votes on one issue is
Single issue.
not very bright.
Okay, since he asked the question for both, I will provide an answer. I have already voted using an absentee ballot because I will not be in the city of Keene that day. I'll be out around the county doing some campaigning. And I wrote in none of the above because I do not like any of the ballot listed choices. So I am using the write-in option as a protest vote to vote for nobody.
Okay, another question from the audience? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Tilton, could you tell us what you think the role of government is?
Great question.
The role of county government is certainly different than the role of other governments, and I'm going to address county government since that's what I've been involved in. County government takes on, as I said, some of those roles. And again, going back to the National Association of Counties, traditionally counties perform assessment of property, record keeping, and in the state of New Hampshire, we do not have strong county government. If you go out west, you have the city and county of Denver. It is one entity. Here, we do not have Cheshire County as being the overriding government entity. We have individual towns that have their own government and their own police force, city clerk, etc. I think the role of the county, role of government is to assist those people who are unable to assist themselves, to keep records so that people are able to maintain files. It's very difficult to figure out who owns property if you don't have a probate office that will follow through on wills.
Okay, we have time for one question for each candidate. Does anybody have a question for one of the candidates? Okay.
Anna,
Sure.
how about one central repository for all the deeds online?
In the state?
Instead of, per county. Would that make everything a lot more cost efficient then?
Well, you know, if you look at the probate court, until 1984, each probate court was an individual court and had responsibilities for the county. When those duties were centralized and under the umbrella of the administrative offices of the court, you lost local control, basically. When I was a register of probate, I had very little leeway in what I could do to improve that office. I was under the control of the administrative office of the court. In the deeds office, the register is the sole arbiter of what's going to happen. And because she's elected, she must respond to the needs of the citizens. And I think that's one reason why deeds offices have e-filing and deeds offices have online accessibility to records. You do not see any records in any of the judicial branches that are online because it's so centralized. And I'm concerned that if you get to a big centralized type of organization, that the needs of the local communities goes away.
We have one more question for Daryl.
Hold on, he has to change the tape.
Oh, okay. So we're going to take a moment to let our cameraman back there change tape out.